It's our top 3 one-hit wonders for directors. Welcome to another episode of Talk Talk Punch. Thank you so much to both our podcast listeners and our YouTube viewers for joining us. I am Brody, joined by Tudong Dylan.
Hey.
And the happy Hogan of this Stark Industries, Charlie Hickman.
Well, nice to see you, boys. Thank you. A surprise out of left field, as always, Brody. Your nicknames never grow any less weird.
I try. All right. Well, if you haven't already, we'd love it if you subscribe so that way you can come back here every Wednesday to hang out with us and have some fun. Because this one, folks, oh boy, this one might be a little controversial. There may be some. Be nice to us in the comments, please, if you disagree with us. I mean, still leave a comment because it's good for the algorithm, but be nice about it because you may not agree with some of these. I was telling the guys in our pre-production meeting that I have some stuff that may ruffle some feathers. Dylan may have guessed mine already, but we'll see if he's correct. All right. How are you guys feeling about this? How did you guys make your list? Was it just off memory? Was it just how'd you do it? How'd you do it, Tudong?
I wanted to make sure I knew what I was talking about, so I did a little bit of research. I was very not too wild card. But of course my actual picks turned into kind of wild cards, but I went with like the top 3, like either ones that I like, ones that I think maybe change certain things, like important movies in like the industry, and they're also just the directors never did anything else.
Charlie, how about you?
You want my full methodology here? Because there's some science behind this. You know when we do these lists, I love to pull out the old Excel spreadsheets, the calculators. I like to get out my beakers, my Bunsen's, my honeydews. I like to get into the minutia. I like to grind the numbers, and I like to come up with facts based from science.
Man.
So I guess maybe I'll spotlight or highlight some of the methodology that I used to compile my list as I go through it.
Okay.
So
Nice.
but I will say, you're sitting here saying you're going to ruffle some feathers. I don't think I will be ruffling a lot of feathers. So now I feel kind of bad. Maybe my methodology was off. I feel like I've got a pretty benign list, and I'm going to get a lot of owls watching mine because it's going to be a lot of who.
Okay.
Owl
All right.
jokes, always
Kind of
classic.
agree with that too. You may know the movie, but even I didn't know the names of these directors.
Really?
But I know these movies. These movies are very yeah.
Oh, interesting. Okay. Well,
Mhm,
maybe we went
mhm.
about this all differently because mine are definitely some known people. People know my
No.
people. So, and I just went with like, you know what? They did one big thing that was popular, and maybe they did other things, but they probably weren't as good. They never lived up to that one hit wonder. All
Nice.
right.
We got to start because I can't wait to see your list
Yeah.
All
in
right.
comparison to ours.
What did I say the order was? Is it
Dylan,
it's Dylan
and then
first?
Dylan,
then
Dylan,
you.
Brody,
me,
Charlie.
and then Charlie? Okay.
Sounds like maybe you should have gone last, but that's okay. Let's go. Let's go with old Tudong here.
No, I think
Yeah.
we're gonna end on a safe note, Charlie. It's gonna be you.
Yeah.
So. All right. Well, Tudong, what's your number 3?
My number 3 is the director of the movie Mystery Men, Kinka Usher. Um,
Who?
he quit directing feature films and focused on commercials. He did like a 2011 Super Bowl commercial. Yeah, I mean, hey, I love this movie. Cult classic. Very, very ignored when it first came out. Did not make a lot of money, but I thought it was fantastic. Like I said, became a cult hit. Maybe on video or something. At least compared to what they did in the theaters. But I mean, he never did anything else, and this is basically the only thing he did. And let me tell you, I absolutely love this movie, folks. If you have not seen Mystery Men, this is a really fun movie with a lot of really cool actors, character actors.
Yeah, that's interesting because this had a huge cast. Like,
Yeah. Oh,
how did he get this job if he had never really done anything and then never did anything after?
you know, do not know. I have no clue. It probably like like I said, I don't know how he got here, but he just didn't do anything after this. Probably like by choice. He just didn't want to, and it makes sense. This didn't do well. Although, what a fun movie. I
Yes.
don't understand. This is one of those that if it came out right now, so many people would love this movie because it
Sure.
basically ends up superhero movies, which I think was fantastic. Excellently done all around, and he never did anything else.
Interesting. All right.
Well, how he got the gig, I guess will just remain a mystery, man.
Ooh.
And
Ooh.
Aha!
Aha! You did it.
Yep. All
He
right,
said the
dad jokes
thing.
next.
All right. So
Aha!
mine is it's almost someone
Steven
that like
Spielberg,
that like it
Christopher Nolan.
it's someone that
oh
I
no.
almost felt bad putting on, but then I didn't feel bad because I put him on. And that's Josh Trank. You guys familiar with
Oh,
Josh Trank? His one-hit
yeah.
wonder, he did Chronicle, that found footage superhero movie kind of coming out like right at the start of the
Mhm.
MCU. People were like, this movie is amazing. Michael B. Jordan, Dane DeHaan, like it was a cool movie. And then he went on to do the Fantastic Four movie, which honestly, like one of the worst movies I've ever seen. I
Aw.
actively hated my time watching it. I disliked it so much. It's got a 4.3 on Rotten Tomato. Like horrible. Uh I don't remember what Chronicle was on Rotten Tomato or anything,
That must be
but
up high there because
it
that did really
it's up there. I think it's in like the sevens or something like that. But it was like it had kind of this underground hit vibe that like got people talking about it, and they were like, "Oh man, Josh Trank, what else is he gonna do?" He was signed on for the Boba Fett movie, and then you know whether he quit or whether he was let go, kind of like depending on what you read, it was kind of like, oh, he's no longer doing a Boba Fett movie,
mm.
after after Fantastic Four did really, really poorly and people really, really hated it.
And
He
he really let everybody know how much he hated it. That's
and then
good.
he did Capone in May of 2020, which is like a great time to release a movie. But that's like a 4.7 on Rotten Tomato, So like he hasn't done anything, and he has nothing upcoming, And so he kind of like he hit Chronicle, and it was cool, and that was it. So I don't know if we'll see Josh Trank make a comeback, because he's got that fan four stick stuck on his record, man, and that is a stinker. So,
True.
but
Very
Chronicle was cool. Check out Chronicle. It's another like
yeah.
superhero flick that like just got all this
Found huge.
buzz.
Mhm.
Also, Michael B. Jordan was in it before he really
Yeah.
took off. It was a cool one. So there you go, Josh Trank.
Good pick. Good pick.
All right. So my number three. Okay. So real quick, just I want to run through some of the highlights of my criteria. Whatever the movie is that I'm considering to be their one hit has to be something that I feel like has legs to exist beyond the era that it was a hit in. So not only are we still watching it to this day after it was made, but I'm projecting 20, 30 years in the future, it'll still be something that exists. And then I wanted to make sure I wasn't picking directors that were too young, just because give them a shot, give them a shot to maybe have something else. And so maybe there's a little another movie or two by these directors that you could call decent, but I think we can all agree that the one hit was the hit. So, without further ado, here's my number three. See if you guys can guess who the director is. Once you bring it up, though, the slide though.
Oh, sorry.
So, National Lampoon's Christmas Vacation. There he is. There's our guy. Who directed the famous Christmas film that will be watched on Christmases for many decades to come? National Lampoon's Christmas Vacation. This was written by John Hughes, and if you would ask me before I started doing research for this who directed this movie, I would have said John Hughes. I wouldn't have felt good about it, but I knew he wrote it, and he always directs what he writes. So I would have thought that's got to be the right answer, or at least it's the best one that I can come up with. The correct answer is the world famous Jeremiah S. Chechik. Now, that's him there,
Oh,
pictured there. So now you can picture the face there. He was a very young director when he got hired for this,
huh.
and you guys may remember him. I know you were just talking about how bad Fantastic Four was, but sometimes the world doesn't agree in much. We have a lot of disagreements out there in the streets, but I think there was a period of time where everyone agreed that the Avengers, not MCU Avengers, but 1998's Sean Connery
Oh, Sean
Avengers was maybe the
Connery
Oh
worst
one.
movie ever made.
no.
Oh man.
I
That's
watched that. That was so bad.
that's Mr. Chechik here, so you can thank him
Oh
for that.
really?
Yeah,
Oh.
and fun fact, he didn't actually win the Razzie that year for it because of the remake of Psycho was so bad that he got bailed out on that. But he has a very interesting career. He made 1996. He made Diabolique with Sharon Stone, and
Oh
like
yeah.
famously, it was just like a mess. And read some kind of fun interviews with him about that, and how he just was kind of like felt like he got caught in between the studio and Sharon Stone, and it was just a horrible
Oh
gobbledygook of
man.
just the egos and tempers and things. And he did Benny and June, which is not a bad movie. It
Okay.
grossed 8 million in the box office. It's opening, I think, 20 some odd total global. So not like a big hit, but like a
Dancing
fine movie.
potatoes.
But other than that, it's just been TV and kind of
It was
downhill
bold.
since Christmas Vacation. So that is my first entry. I'm sorry to upset any Chechik fans, but there he is,
Huh.
first entry in the One Hit Wonders.
Good one.
No
That's a
idea
good
that
one.
he directed Christmas Vacation. I would have said it was John Hughes too, but
Mm.
alrighty. Number 2.
Number two. Go
Lead
ahead and bring
on.
it up, bro. The movie is a classic. Many people have watched it,
Mm.
and it made one actor like a superstar, and that is Risky Business. And I do not at the time, every time I've watched it, I still have to look up what his name is, and it is directed by Paul Brickman. And interestingly enough, this movie was a monster hit, huge. Not like I mean, it was critically praised, and it did wonders at the box office. It turned Tom Cruise into a like just like a superstar, and oddly enough, like the big studios came to have him direct other things, and he decided to just not do anymore. He
Hmm.
literally quit. He actually, I think, left the country. They say he went to I don't know. He's gone between different countries, but it doesn't look like he's going to come back and start directing. He has not done another movie after this, and if he did, nobody's ever heard of it. It may
Wow.
be some small, tiny film, but I mean, basically people are like he hasn't done anything else after this. He literally stopped. I don't know if it's because he had a terrible experience or he thought he couldn't do anything better than this. I have no idea, but I mean, this movie made a lot, like it changed a lot of things movie wise. Yeah, the business and all that kind of thing. Even just bringing Tom Cruise to where he is. And I mean, and he, like I said, he chose just nothing else. It's weird. I mean, yeah, that's. I don't know what else to say, but I mean, I think this movie's hilarious. I really enjoy it.
Well, and this poster says written and directed by Paul Brickman.
Wow, he wrote it too. I don't. I mean, I don't get it. Maybe he was just like, "Hey, I'm
How
finished."
weird. He just
Yeah,
disappeared. That's really
he's
strange. I had no
I
idea.
made my money and I'm out.
You can read some because I looked at this for the list. You can read, like, he had some good interviews about it, and shared some regrets. And like, you got offered some big gigs that he kind of passed on, some big kind of like career making things that he was like, nah. So yeah, follow your
It-
bliss. But I will say, Bronson Pinchot and Curtis
oh,
Armstrong as like the buddies of Tom Cruise, that might
yeah,
be the best like teen movie buddies of all time.
definitely.
Fantastic. If you don't know who they are, Bing them.
Bingham.
Bing 'em.
Bing them.
Make sure you bing 'em. All right. My number 2 is one who I think is probably pretty well known to these types of lists. One big hit and then a lot of other movies. And that's M. Night Shyamalan.
Ooh.
Wow.
Hey,
Yes.
that Sixth Sense, huge hit, right? Put him
Huge.
on the map, got him all sorts of acclaim, got him all sorts of attention, and
Yep.
and I love Unbreakable, but Unbreakable was not a big hit. It it
That's true.
it was a smaller movie. I think it got a lot less eyes on it. And then all the other big movies that came out weren't very good, like you get The Happening in there. I think Signs has
Oh,
fans. I think Village
I
was
like
kind of a mess.
I
which
like
one?
Signs.
Yeah, I
Village.
like The
Uh,
Village. Yeah, it's at that point that I was just like, what the hey is he doing? And then next thing you know, he does Lady in the Water, and I'm like, this is preposterous. I won't be fooled again. I can't believe I got fooled into seeing Glass. I can't believe it. Unbelievable. And he makes it horribly. He
and
deserves to
and
be on this list, bro. He deserves to be on this list.
and it feels like all his other movies have just been smaller. Like I watched Old on streaming, and it was fine, but it was like I don't even remember this being in theaters. And then the
Yeah.
cabin knock at the cabin, I watched that on streaming. That was another like small thing, and I really didn't care for that movie. So it's he hit like super high, like right out the gate with Sixth Sense, and then it's just kind of been like everything
People say
else is just
he's gonna be like the next Spielberg.
yeah. He called himself like the next Spielberg, I believe. It was, I mean, he
What?
was.
How freaking arrogant. Unbelievable.
And so yeah, so that's my number two. He was like immediately on my list, and I was kind of like, where does he fall? Is he number one? Is he number three? And I was like, you know what? Like, we'll just drop him at number two. That's fine.
You know, you're kind, bro, because he wasn't good enough to be on my list. I'm like, this is a top three, not a bottom three. He would definitely be in the bottom three based on just the last Airbender alone.
The
Unbelievable.
Last Airbender. I forgot he did The Last Airbender.
I watched that and I'm like, I cannot believe this.
Oh
It's
man.
really good anime, but yeah.
True.
All right, now
So
Brody, I will like my only pushback here,
okay.
and I don't know how we're defining hit, but I mean, Signs made over 400 million gross worldwide. I mean, that was a big movie. Like whether whatever your feelings were on it, I mean that's a pretty good return. I was only 200 million or so less than Six Sense. Village made over 200 million worldwide. But the spirit of what you're saying, I get it. I'm just nitpicking here. I'm just throwing out a little pushback because the people watching might have a little pushback.
Sure.
I like
Oh,
Signs. He takes swings much like the character in Signs. You got to take swings.
doesn't take
Uh,
swings. He takes like ego trips. That's what he takes.
all right.
Ego.
Oh well, I'll let you guys handle the M Night Shyamalan. Hey, you don't need me to jump on that wagon because it is full. But I will say it has led to some wonderful Robot Chicken sketches where he comes out and it's like, "What a twist!"
Yeah.
Every every time something happens. Um,
Well,
Sorry,
and
but
I think
I hear what you're saying.
I
Sure.
think with Signs, I've heard just as many people who really don't like it,
That's fair.
as
That's fair.
and so I feel like Sixth Sense is mostly universally praised. Like, granted,
That's
not
fair.
everything's 100%, but for the most part, people are like, "Man, Sixth Sense was great," And then everything else has been like, it was
Yeah,
fine. Oh, I really hated the
bro.
end. I
He
really hated the twist.
Yeah, I mean, he deserves to be on a one-hit wonder list, just not on the top 3.
I
You're
feel you.
being
And
fair.
like according to my own criteria, I mean that he kind of fits in the mold anyway because I don't as much as I mean I like Sixth Sense. I think that'll still be watched 20 years from now. I don't know if the other things from his catalog 20
Yeah,
years from now are still going to be in rotation.
Sure.
Signs was fun to see in the theater and it was kind of a cool little movie. But
people are hating on
uh,
it. I don't know why.
all right, anyway,
All
so
right, Charlie, you're number two.
my number two will be hard to argue with when you see this little fella pop up on the screen. Go ahead and pop him up there. And I say little, I don't know. He's in his 60s now, but this is you guys know the director here, old David Mickey Evans, a man so nice they named him thrice. This guy says that when he's in airports, people yell, "You're killing me, Smalls Adam." And I just like to tell those
Really?
people that they are big. I thought I was a huge fan of The Sandlot. I could be he could be in this room right now, and I still wouldn't quite know what he looks like because the pictures online are usually he's wearing a hat. I don't know that that there's like a scenario unless he's wearing a T-shirt that says "I'm David Mickey Evans and I directed The Sandlot and wrote it"
Does
on it,
does
where
he
I would
does
recognize him.
does he have a Sandlot tattoo on his arm? Is that what that is?
I can't zoom in on that picture that I chose, but that wouldn't surprise me
It
because
looks like he's got a tattoo right below the T-shirt line that says the Sandlot. Which I would think
so
if you're in an airport and you saw somebody, you would say that more than like
maybe
recognizing the
just like
guy.
you didn't recognize him. He's just like the tattoo. That's fair. You know what? If ever I see a guy with the Sandlot tattoo, no matter what he looks like, I'm just gonna assume he's the director,
Right?
and I'm gonna talk to him. But he has an interesting story. So he was the director of a little 80s movie or oh no, excuse me, early 90s movie called Radio Flyer,
Oh
which
yeah.
but he was fired from that. And
What?
so he recalls being told that you everyone in Hollywood gets a second chance, but not everyone gets a third. And
Ooh.
so he went home after getting fired and he started writing the script for that became The Sandlot and was just like seriously invested in kind of making sure that whatever he did second was going to be good enough for him to kind of stick around and have the kind of career in Hollywood that allows you to direct Beethoven's Third and Beethoven's Fourth and The Sandlot 2 and Ace Ventura Pet Detective Jr. the TV movie.
Oh no.
And so this poor guy, I mean, he has this his hit movie that is so endearing to so many generations of baseball fans and just families. But really has struggled, I think, to find momentum to do anything outside of that, or maybe he just doesn't want to at this point. Certainly, in the interviews that I read with him, he wasn't saying like, "Gosh, I really hate that people know me for The Sandlot," and trying to spit on the fans of The Sandlot. He was pretty excited that's what he's known for, and quite frankly, I would be too. It's a masterpiece as a baseball film fanatic, and he has a new untitled Sandlot prequel. Which hey, the Sandlot 2, no good, but maybe the untitled Sandlot prequel will be magic. I don't know. It could be, but for now, my number two, he's killing me, Smalls. He wrote, directed it. God bless him. But go watch Beethoven Fourth, and because maybe that's great. And let me know.
Ace Ventura Jr.
I did not know that existed, and now it kind of maybe I feel like maybe we should watch that as a channel. It's
Oh,
a TV
please
movie. Maybe
no.
we should just all watch that together.
I've seen the
It's
poster of like
Isn't Jamie Kennedy in that? Starring in that? Oh wait, that's the TV
no
show you
that
said.
no the Jamie Kennedy was in the Mask one.
Oh right, that's right.
No,
That's
the
right.
Ace Ventura, they picked like some 10-year-old kid that I'm
yeah,
guessing just does like an Ace Ventura impression the whole time. That's
yeah.
really bad.
Josh Flitter is his name. I'm not sure if that's
Oh.
really pinging with people, but he was a young bully in Eternal Sunshine of the Spotless Mind, so that is a good movie. So he's got that going for him. But all right,
All right. Moving on to number ones. Ah, guys, I'm scared. I don't know if I want to do mine.
But you're going to
Okay.
have to.
Dylan
My number
go.
one.
Dylan go while I contemplate.
you can't change it now. You
I
got
can't change
you're
it
in it.
now.
Cannot
Oh
change
You're
it,
in it.
bro.
no.
You can't
Oh
change it.
no. What
Those
have I
hands up.
done?
I don't
What
want
have
you
I
to change
done?
it.
It's
Uh
gonna.
huh.
I think I know who it is. I'll
Angry
save my
letters are
guess
going to be
though.
written.
Okay,
But
two
anyways,
dog.
as I was saying, this movie actually changed a lot of things in the film history. In film, I don't know, history, whatever it is. They brought back and severely popularized the found footage movie, the Blair Witch Project. And if you were to ask me who directed that, I would have no clue. I'd be like, what, the actors maybe? No, not the actors. I know that there was and the road. Anyways, so you want to put the poster up, Road?
Oh, sorry.
Daniel Merrick and Eduardo Sanchez. I know they've done other things afterwards. I'm not exactly sure what, but they never co-directed another movie again. But this movie absolutely changed the landscape on movies. It was made for some people say $7,000, some people say
Jeez.
$37,000. Either way, that is shockingly little amount of money, and I think it made wasn't it around? It was more than $500 million. Is that right? I don't know how you would know, but I think you would know. But either way, I think it's around 500 million. But I mean, the
Fact
return
checking.
on investment on that is staggering. It has like the highest like profit made from a film and its actual budget. It's just ridiculous. And I could not tell you who they were, nor could I tell you what they have done since. I still can't say what they've done since. I know they have other things and they've been working, they've tried other things, but they really went their own way. And just this movie was so important, like I said, and at the same time, they never like they never did anything after that, really. Like I know they tried doing different things, but none of it was as prolific as the Blair Witch Project.
So as far as budget goes, according to IMDb, so take it with a grain of salt, but the budget was estimated for 60,000 and grossed 248.6 million worldwide.
Still so much.
It's a tremendous profit. Tremendous.
Shocking profit. I shouldn't have said so much because now it sounds a lot worse. It sounds like they made way
Oh,
too
man,
much.
I mean,
But I mean, like
era
it was
adjusted too. That was like
wow.
all word of mouth too. Like just
I,
like it started off like in just a few screens and kind of built. That was
I was gonna
And
say,
they
I feel like a lot of that money was probably going towards marketing because I
well, all
remember
yeah,
like the
marketing
marketing and the promotional stuff that was coming out around this was
so well done.
huge.
They did the internet before it was like a big thing, and they did it right. Whatever they did, it was genius. Their marketing was fantastic. I mean, there's not gonna be somebody said was like, "Oh, did you ever think that this was actually like for real?" And I was like, first of all, that would be a snuff film, and that would be very illegal. You can't see something like this. Come on. And also, why would there be a writer and director? Hmm? And I'm like, it really be real. But wow, that they made it seem so real. Even I mean, with the marketing alone, people were sending gift cards to the actors' parents because they thought they were
Jeez.
dead.
Wow.
Yeah. The
so
actors did
good.
not go on to do other things also. Although I will say, Heather from this was in season one episode of It's Always Sunny in Philadelphia.
Jeez.
He was the one who was saying like, "Hey, Charlie, this is your kid," and it turns out it's not his kid.
And then they made Blair Witch 2, which was nothing like the first one.
I don't think they directed that, and if they did, it was only one of them because, like I said, they never co-directed again.
I can't
But
imagine
I
they had anything to do with the second one. That seemed like
yeah,
a
really
studio
doubt it. I know
cash.
that they had something to do with the other one, the one that came out recently. I think they had something to do with it, but I'm not sure if that was the directing. And if they did, it really didn't do well because, and I can't even really think of the name of it. It's like Blair Witch or something, right?
The Blair
I'm
Witch.
like, it was just Blair Witch. Yeah, I was like, I just kind of threw it out there. It was called The Project
Oh,
The
there you go.
project.
or The Blair Witch. That's my
Okay.
number one.
All right. So I have my
At
number
zero,
one. I have my number one, right? And I felt so confident as I was doing it. And according to kind of how I built this list off of like, they did something that was really good. And then they may have done other things. And those other things could have still been successful, but maybe not as well received. Um, and we were having our pre-production meeting and I mentioned, I said, I think I might upset people with my list, especially my number one. And I stand by that. So if you're upset by this, I'm really
come
sorry.
on, let's see it.
And
It's
Dylan was like, well, as long as you don't have M. Night Shyamalan or George Lucas on your list. And I was like, oh, son of
yes,
a gun.
yes.
Cause okay, so let's talk about George Lucas
Two
for a
out
little
of
bit.
three.
Right? Like he does Star Wars, like changes cinema, one of the best movies ever made, ever made created one of the most successful franchises in history. Um, didn't do the second one, which is
Or the
like the best one. Didn't do the third one, which is still pretty good.
second one.
Didn't do anything else. If you had asked me, I would have been like, "Oh yeah, he directed Howard the Duck." No, apparently not. He was just involved with it, but that wouldn't have helped the
Really?
case. I thought he directed it. He didn't direct it.
Well, I did
Um,
too. I was
I,
like, of
he
course he
he was like a producer or something. He was involved with it, but didn't direct it, and didn't
he
direct anything. I mean, aside from THX 1138 and American Graffiti that he did before Star Wars, which were both very small movies. He didn't do anything. He didn't direct anything else until Phantom Menace, and then he did all three prequels,
I
which
love how he put his name on the other 2, Empire Strikes Back and Return of the Jedi. I love that. I'm like, "Oh, really? You directed that? Oh, okay, okay, I believe you."
um so then he does the prequels and like they're just not great. And yes, they made a ton of money. And so like he would not fit on Charlie's list. Charlie's list is very like analytical and makes sense. Mine is purely just like, yeah,
Vibes.
he did a great movie and then it didn't do good movies. And like George Lucas, hey, like genius marketing guy, right? Like for sure one of the greatest marketing minds ever. The way
Marketing?
the way he marketed Star Wars, the way he did all the merchandising and the
No, now
toys,
Merchandising.
merchandising, that he's a genius at because he
I would
merchandised
I would roll that
everything.
all
I don't know
into
if he did
marketing.
anything. I don't think he did anything with marketing. Don't give him that kinda that's
I
like saying made such a wonderful score that the movie was made by the score. Thanks, George Lucas. He didn't do that. He didn't do marketing.
I'd put it all I'd put merchandising under marketing, but whatever. Um and so yeah, so he just and he hasn't done anything since he's only done Star Wars really, aside from those first two things. And the first one, like I said, is great, one of the best movies ever, and then has not done anything like it. Not that you
Elsewhere.
can. If you make the first Star Wars, good luck trying to make anything on par with the first Star Wars. But yeah, and I
Or
know
Empire Strikes Back, which is even better.
the prequels have their fans. I know. I'm just not a fan. Uh, they're nowhere near the first Star Wars, which to me, one hit wonder Star Wars. Everything else is like way far below it. So I'm sorry if you love George Lucas and if you love the prequels and
Correct.
you think the prequels are better than the original. Disagree. I think that he's a one hit
Why? And
wonder. And I said
please
it.
let us know why if you believe that, because I'm genuinely curious. I'm not being patronizing or sarcastic. If the prequels are in fact better in your eyes, I'm just curious as to why. Although if you did say Ewan McGregor, I would understand that. That makes sense.
That was great.
Hey guys, if we're still doing this podcast in 4 years, we got to do something for the 50th year anniversary of the original Star Wars film.
Yes.
We'll binge all of them and record the whole thing.
Oh
And, you,
wow.
and then you guys are both gonna have to write George Lucas an apology letter. So that's all right.
I don't know about that. I think he owes me an apology letter, and Brody, and you, and the
Hey,
world.
we're sitting here 46 years later, still talking about this movie that he made. So it's all right.
He's a
Uh,
one-hit wonder. He had a hit.
Yeah, it was a big hit, huge hit.
hey,
Lots of
I'm not even gonna try to push back on you guys. You guys can take the reins. But funny enough that you're talking about George Lucas and that you alluded to some other things. All right, now for those of you watching at home,
Okay.
without looking it up on the internet, who directed Return of the Jedi? Who directed Empire Strikes Back?
Larry Kasdan.
Irvin Kershner.
Urban
So
Church. That's it. Oh, he
so I did say for those of you watching at home, so without looking it
Oh,
up, but
did you?
I did, yeah. So, but thanks for spoiling the answer for the so so Return of the Jedi was Richard Marquand, and then as you said, Irvin Kershner was the director of Empire Strikes Back. And in my mind, like so hard to come up with a better one hit. I wanted to put them both on here, and quite frankly, I could have, because both of their careers just. I mean, it's so hard to compare to two of like the best the best movies of all time. Uh, but Empire was the better movie. I think we all can kind of admit that.
yeah,
And
definitely.
also, he's had the more like an enigmatic career. Uh, Lucas told Kirshner that he wanted him to direct this because he knew everything about Hollywood, but he wasn't Hollywood. And he was like a teacher of Lucas's, and he came in and he directed this. And he's done some other things. And look, I'm fully like ready to admit that part of why I view this in such a scope may just simply be because he made movies in the '60s and maybe they were great, and maybe everyone was like, "Oh my gosh, did you see the new Irvin Kershner movie, The Return of a Man Called Horse in 1976, or The Flim Flam Man in '67, or The Luck of Ginger Coffee in '64?" But they're movies that I've never heard of. The ratings aren't particularly high on any of the film rating sites. So nothing that I felt like, oh gosh, this is going to really blow up in my face. Brody, I know you're a huge RoboCop 2 fan.
Oh.
which he did in 1990.
Wait,
So
Kirshner did RoboCop 2?
yeah, he did RoboCop 2. And
Y-
so I know that puts him right on the edge of having two great movies. And
Oh,
he
Oh,
that
gross. Oh,
RoboCop
oh,
2, by the
a
way,
gross.
lot happening in my
the
heart.
last movie he ever directed, that just ended it for him. He did one episode of Sequest in '93, and then he was like, "All right, you know what? I am out of here." So which with Jonathan Brandis, who famously tried to become there's it's 6 degrees of Star Wars separation. Kershner was approached to direct Return of the Jedi, but he's like, nah. It took me like 3 years to prep for this. I'm out. He said he would have loved to do the prequels if they had been sooner, but
Mm.
unfortunately they were not. Or fortunately, I don't even know anymore. He also did the Never Say Never Again, like
Yes, yes,
the fake James Bond movie that wasn't
Oh,
like a
okay.
real.
yeah, that's right. I was waiting for that one. Nice. Oh, that was so bad. That was terrible.
So not a lot of hits, except for Empire. And this is a good like bar bet because like this it's just like if you're not like really looking this stuff up and into like the directors and things, it's so easy to attach like the producers and the like
Yeah.
Lucas and people who swear up and down that Spielberg directed one of the Star Wars movies. Like there's just like we could win some bar bets on the
They said Larry
uh
Kasdan, and he was the writer.
yeah,
Yeah.
on the Return of the Jedi or the Empire Strikes Back front. So this is my number one, my entry for my one hit wonder.
Very nice.
Oh.
Good. Very good.
That's a good one. That's a good one. I'm
Mhm.
surprised I went with George Lucas over Irving Kirshner, but
Well, I'm glad you did because then we got a
yeah,
little diversity.
it's true. It's true.
You got to vent your feelings of hatred for poor old George.
I don't
Uh,
hate him. No, I
Why
he still came up with Star Wars.
do you know how many Kurosawa movies basically he just kinda took from it, put into that? It's kind of embarrassing if you watch them. If you were to say, like, he created Indiana Jones, I would've been like, "You're right. Okay, you're right."
Well, he created Indiana Jones. How about that?
Well, and you're right.
and you're right.
And then he wrote Crystal Skull, right? So all right. You guys have anything else to add to this? This was fun. It stressed me out as the anticipation built. It stressed me out, and I really questioned whether I did the right thing. But now that it's out, I'm kind of like, oh, I'm kind of at peace now. Okay.
I
I
love
I
it.
I want to throw one name out there. Bob Clark, because I started thinking of movies that like I'm like I don't know who directed A Christmas Story. But that's a movie that's got legs and obviously, and so I'm like, okay, who's that? And there's like, oh, Bob Clark. Okay, well, what else did he direct? He couldn't have directed anything else good. It turns out he directed the Black Christmas horror movie in 1974,
Mhm.
and also Porky's. Like, what a weird
Oh,
filmography to go from like
Wow.
one of the original slasher horror films to like
Monkey.
Porky's.
Porky's.
Yeah.
Uh-huh. And then into A Christmas Story. It's just such a weird
Huh.
like little and then like just it's a bizarre like career. But anyway, I just wanted to spotlight old Bob Clark here.
There you go,
And,
Bob
there's
Clark.
another spotlight, and a very little known actor, Marlon Brando, directed a film. Of course, it wasn't a hit, nor was it critically praised, so he was like a no-hit wonder.
I did forget to mention that there have been some actors who have directed like one or
Mm,
two like good movies and then just never done it again.
Sure.
Actors get enough credit. Want to shine the spotlight on? Well, I
yeah.
wanted to shine the spotlight on some names that don't get enough recognition. Brody just wanted to burn them down to the ground with flames, flames. George Lucas sitting in his couch watching Talk Talk Punch, going, "Hey,
Yeah, his billion-dollar
I am good at
couch and his
marketing.
billion-dollar
Tugon,
mansion on his billion-dollar ranch. Yeah, I feel bad
get
for
my
you.
lawyers on the phone. I'm gonna market."
Go Mark.
I don't know why. That's exactly how we talked about it. That is a perfect George Lucas
It
impression if you've
is.
never
Spot
heard
on,
it.
spot
It
on, it's
is.
true.
All right, Charlie, you
All
want to
right.
wrap
Well,
us up?
yeah, thank you for joining us. If you have some one-hit wonder directors that come to mind for you, make sure you leave them in the comments below. If you like some of the movies that we talked about tonight, make sure you leave that in the comments below. It's kind of fun looking through all these older films and hop on the nostalgia train with us. And if you think Brody's a little bit too spicy, let us know. Or if it's just the right amount of spice,
Yeah.
it'll make him feel better. He feels bad. Cheer him up. So we'll see you next time. Like and subscribe.
Bye.